Tito, hi and welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being with us. You have a lofty goal, and that is prosperity for all. And you're relying on a very aggressive digital strategy to get you there. But here we are in Thailand, in the ASEAN region, and I think it's fair to say that in ASEAN, the preference is still for cash. So keeping that in mind, what, according to you, is the best route towards inclusive prosperity?
Well, first of all, we don't frame it as an altruistic goal.
In yes, the Philippines, you are a business at the end of the day.
Right,
yes.
So we have 70% of the Philippines are unbanked, and a lot of very reputable institutions and analysts are predicting that the Philippines will, by 2050, be a G20 country at the current rate of growth. So that unbanked population, which is about 50 million adults, is a massive potential that we should be looking at. And the process by which we do that needs to be a process where there's minimal cash burn, because at this point in time, these are small value customers, even if we can get them into the banking system. And the way to do that, therefore, is to collaborate with partners that are already on the ground, for example. And so that's our strategy. And the main focus that we've settled on was to put the rural banks, of which there are 500 with 2,800 branches, into a blockchain network, which we call I2I. So it's a federated sort of ecosystem of trust, you could say, among untrusting partners. And each rural bank, therefore, now can behave as if they have a national franchise. And we're now building with a technology partner, a subscriber-based banking-in-a-box solution so that that can help them tech up. And we think that that would be very important in terms of the inclusive prosperity goal, at the same time giving us some business, because the rural banks are in the communities. And the key to prosperity is not so much payments. That's a necessary but insufficient condition to put people into bank accounts or wallets, which right now have high dormancy rates. But it's credit. And credit, in the absence of data and algorithm in an unbanked population, can only be done by institutions that are on the spot and are committed to the development of their communities. And our regulator has in fact approved us to issue a commercial bank digital currency to be the exchange of value in this network. And that's an important point because we have 10 million Filipinos abroad sending money.
Yes, that's a huge driver of growth.
That's a huge driver of growth.
They send 10% of GDP, I think.
Right, and each remittance is like $250, and the cost is 5 to 10% because it's going through different modules. Because the rural banks themselves are unbanked. They're not connected to the national retail payment system, definitely not to SWIFT, not even to the ATM network. So in a country where this unbanked population lives on $2 a day, to take 5 to 10% of $250, $12 to $25 out of every remittance is a week or week and a half of food on the table.
Correct.
So I think so we now have about 65 signups and about 20 that are live on that platform. And so hopefully that would be our small contribution to promoting inclusive prosperity over time, leveraging on existing institutions that are on the ground, and hopefully that brings us to a point where when the people or the population or the businesses grow big enough in these next 30 years before we become G20, then we now have an opportunity when their capabilities on the ground are insufficient to acquire those customers. So that's the thought. It's a combination of solving a inclusive financial inclusion problem and also building a business model for the future. So that's our small little contribution, I think.
You mentioned blockchain technology. Now, at the best of times, I'm not really sure I understand blockchain technology, and you're using it to get rural banks to talk to each other, to communicate. Can you explain that, and how is it working?
Well, so there are challenges, right? So first challenge is datacom, right? Because obviously you need to communicate using data. So we built this platform with our technology partners on 2G. So we don't even need to worry about 3 or 4 or 5. So it's built on 2G. We adapt to the conditions.
Right.
It's intermittent in the rural areas. So we can do off-chain transactions and putting it on-chain when the connectivity is there. Second is they obviously don't have the IT capability to do blockchain. So it needs to be transparent to them.
Yeah.
So we've worked with another technology partner called Kaleido, which has a subscriber-based blockchain service. So as far as the rural bank is concerned, they can upload into the node on an iPad, and the transactions are done like any transaction on your phone or iPad or online banking, and they don't even know what's happening on the back end. So it's really simple, it's really easy, and blockchain shouldn't even come into the vocabulary insofar as they're concerned. And that's how it works.
So that's interesting. You're not really waiting for the telcos to deliver better speeds and better connectivity. You're making this work on 2G and giving people the option to even work offline. So that's working out for you, because in the rural areas, do you find connectivity is a problem, or with 2G they are managing to make their transactions?
Yeah, there are alternatives. And so, like I say, it's live, it's happening.
Yeah.
We have 20 banks. Our goal is 120. And so...
And what about the mindset? You know, for a lot of the people, digital technology could be intimidating. They haven't used this before. What's the process of getting them on board and getting them comfortable with using digital technology? Yeah,
I think that's a real problem. In fact, our central bank just came through with a survey, and funny enough, only 26% of Filipinos trust digital.
Trust, that is absolutely key, isn't it?
Right. So this is a question. And I think part of the reason is that the minimum digital hygiene is not present. What do I mean? 24/7, Six Sigma reliability, real time, safe and secure. So that's not there. But we try to work with that challenge in several ways. So first is we've transformed our branches. So our branches, which we now call ARC and ARC Lights, are totally paperless. All 32 processes are on the cloud. You can queue your transaction on your app, go to the branch, and do your transaction either on your own device or a device provided. Cash transactions are done in self-service machines. So that allows the older, more valuable customers an opportunity to learn, to be less fearful of, to be more confident that their transactions get fulfilled and are basically guided. So that's number one. Number two is we have a project which we call a counter project. So we've enabled not the customer, but counter. So we have like 20,000 partners, pawn shops, couriers, remittance companies that we have enabled digitally to be able to onboard the customers on the ground. And third, our mobile app, you can open an account totally online. You can do it in your bedroom. And that's approved by the regulator because they vetted it. Our AI engine is better than human at verifying the authenticity of an ID and of making sure that the person and the picture match. So that's interesting. And we just launched, and we have about 100 interested corporates. So we now are working on the same thing for small businesses, medium businesses, corporates to be able to open accounts 100% digital online. So that's the process that we're working at towards converting people from face-to-face
interactions
to digital interaction. So it's a journey.
You know, you talked about branches, and I'm really interested in that your branches are paperless at the moment. I wonder one day whether we'll even have branches at all or whether banks will need them. And that's where I want to get all of you involved and raise our polling question. And I'm just curious, you know, how many people actually go to banks anymore? We'll see. Hopefully our polling question will come up in a minute and they can answer. But I don't really go to branches that much anymore. So yes, so how often do you visit a bank branch? I wonder how many people will pick the third option. Ooh, let's see. Tito, are you surprised seeing these numbers? I think once in 6 months is probably the average. Once in 6 months.
I don't know what's so exciting about waking up in the morning
and saying, I want to go to a bank branch today.
Right. So that's what surprises me. But what we've done is, what we've tried to do is make our branches, the ARC, that's paperless, not a transaction space. It used to be 70% of the space was transaction space. Now there's none at all. So we have a discovery phase, a cafe, etc.
Yeah, so it's not your traditional bank with a teller and counters.
In fact,
none
there
of that.
are no tellers at all.
Oh,
and there are no tellers, there are no service officers. We just have ambassadors whose job is to help this transformation from face-to-face to digital. But what we've done is when the branch closes at 4, it opens up as an event space. So we have events, meetups among different associations, startup pitches, pop-up stores, or the real estate, appliance, or car companies. We have VR and AR, can show their wares, of course, hopefully to generate auto loans, mortgages, credit card, appliance loans. And we have these events. So in the beginning, so we're like a year into this. So the first year, in the branch, we have about 100 events in a year. So that's about twice a week. And on the average, we get about a 15 to 20% conversion of those visitors into the branch for a different purpose converted into an account. So
it becomes a friendly space.
It becomes a friendly acquisition channel.
Right.
And hopefully converted into digital because at the start, they already opened their account in digital. So we think, especially in the provinces, where the branch area, where people have more time in the hands, and it's the relationships are tighter, and the branch is an important meeting place, that this idea will be even more sticky in terms of engaging customers and engaging the community around the bank.
You said something earlier which I found really interesting, and I'm not sure I fully agree with you, but you said Netflix did not kill Blockbuster, Uber did not hurt the taxi business. I want to ask you, will or won't digital banking kill branches or kill traditional banking the way we know it? And what do you mean by saying Netflix didn't kill Blockbuster?
Yeah, it was return fees. When you're late, they charge you. And taxis are not very clean most of the time. Maybe in Singapore they are, not very reliable, and so forth and so on. What I meant by that is that the essence is customer centricity. And when you look at these successful companies, that's what they have accomplished. Clearly, the technology was an enabler, but really what they did was solve a problem, a customer problem. And so to me, as an institution, as we move towards the future, from being product-centric and charging fees for products, how do we become more customer-centric and finally achieve this holy grail of the customer segment of one, which is now possible with technology, with API platforms, with development tools. I can imagine my children creating their own app when they interact with their bank, as opposed to today where we have a bank-created mobile app. Although we iterate, we're on Agile. Our app was launched 2 years ago, and we've had 90 iterations already.
Yeah.
So it's practically once every 2 weeks. But that's different when an individual customer or a corporate uses development tools that we make possible, because we have a very robust API platform. We have about 130 open APIs, and we have 600 that we use internally. So customers can connect to us directly, and using development tools, make their own interface
Correct.
with the bank.
Now, we just spent the last half an hour talking about gender equality. Globally, the statistics show us that fewer women have bank accounts. More men have bank accounts than women. There is a gap there. But I'm fascinated that UnionBank actually has more women customers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's situate it in the Philippines.
Correct.
Okay?
This is a reflection of the culture.
Right. In the Philippines, so I said 30% have bank accounts, 70% are unbanked.
Unbanked, yes.
When you cut that into gender, 24% of men have bank accounts, and 38%, 37% of women have bank accounts. So there's a 13%
Difference there.
gap.
Yeah.
If we look at our customer base, even in very high value businesses like wealth management, actually in our wealth management business, 65% of our customers are women. Culturally, it's the women that holds the budget of the household. So maybe it's symptomatic of that.
But let me ask you a question. Will you take it a step further and target your products specifically for women?
Well, that's the work we need to do.
Correct.
That
Yes.
we need to realize. So we end up with this situation, and we need to be able to be more targeted in terms of fulfilling women's needs. And I think that's work to be done.
One more question on gender equality. What about internally within UnionBank? How do you do when it comes to gender equality? What's your male-female employee ratio like?
Well, we're 63% female and 37% male overall. But that's kind of a cover-up. When we go to the management committee, we're about 5 out of 15. And we get to the board, it's 2 out of 15. Although I'm an honorary woman. So it's 3 out of 15.
So what are you going to do to address that?
I think it's, on the board, it needs to be a stakeholder
Yeah.
decision that we need to work on. On the management level, we don't have any, in the previous panel, there's talk about pay gap. We don't have that. We never did. It's
Okay.
always been based on function, on performance, etc. But people come and go. I guess there were times when our management committee was more women, and now it happens people have less women. So we can target, and that's an idea, because clearly the diversity helps.
Sure.
And as we just discussed, if most of our customers are in fact women, we need to have a better engagement with them. And so that's work in progress. But the truth is, you're hiring for performance, right? Who are the best qualified given the opportunity. So we don't specifically hire men or specifically hire women, but
You're looking for the best person for the job.
we're looking for the best person at the job, but we're cognizant that our customer base, especially
Is-
individuals, on the corporate side, it's mostly male. But on the retail level or on the wealth management job,
It's mostly
It's
women. And you
mostly female. So
consider products for them, special products for them.
I
Great.
think so.
Well, we're out of time, so we're going to wrap it up. But thank you very much, and I wish you good luck in your journey towards inclusive prosperity for all.
Sure.
Thanks, Tito.
Thank you.